IP, internal predictor. The predictor's internal indicate who it is, what it is, and everyone should have it in their head. Everyone should have a king in their head. Need to have a king in your head to understand everything internally. But this has a social nature, the internal predictor. Although from the perspective of achieving goals, the global one ceases to be global. And what we call the internal predictor rises to the level of global challenges. But in fact, having been born in Russia, it has addressed the global challenges of managing all public processes on planet Earth. And it has the most important forecasting conceptual center. This analysis debunks the structures used in forecasting and prediction, examining their inaccuracies and limitations. There is a corresponding ministry. It is written in the party program. It can be detailed. There is body of deputies. Are laws needed? Yes, they are. Should they be invented? Yes, they should. Therefore, the body of deputies is subordinate, and it is led by the predictor. Neither do they lead it, nor can there be independent branches of power. This is precisely the principle of divide and conquer. There should be a prosecutor's office, a council of honor and rights, and in the regions, there is a complete repetition of this predictor-corrector module for the region, because there are things that are decided at the global level and things that are decided at the regional level. By the way, the Prime Minister of Japan, who resigned a few years ago when asked what he considered his main achievement during his tenure, said that his main achievement was the establishment of an institute for solving prospective global issues. That is what is called Forecasting and Conceptual Center. We proposed this back in the Kremlin when Yeltsin was there. To create such a forecasting and conceptual center that would implement the predictor-corrector scheme. Here is the basic scheme. For more details, check the party program for which ministries should exist. But again, I emphasize, this is not dogma. So, throughout life, something can be adjusted because the structure should reflect the tasks facing society. How to achieve this? How to do all this? What tasks to solve? Here is a diagram. So, the totalitarian society is already collapsing, and we have not yet reached this bright future. Therefore, there will be a transition period from one state to another. How it will happen, in what time frame, depends on us. If we work well, we will transition quickly. If we take a long time, we will still transition. There is no other way for us. And this process can be bloody, painful, and so on. Or it can be done through a proactive approach, introducing a balancing mode, without cataclysms, without revolution, without breaking human destinies. So, to transition to this mode, what needs to be done for this? People must know what is happening, and guided by this, understand what is going on, and so to speak, relate accordingly to all issues. Second, there must be managers who are capable and ready to take responsibility for implementing the concept of public safety. After all, as we have already mentioned, there are problems, particularly with Putin. The entire management corps is Yeltsin-like, and people do not understand anything. They were torn apart into different parties, movements, and trends with the help of all these party leaders. They argue among themselves, and some have spat, saying, "To hell with your parties, we are tired of all this." So when people will understand, there will be ready managers. The takeover of management through the method of proactive integration, we will look at it. But already at this stage, remember, we discussed the mechanism of auto-synchronization. What is it? It is a face-to-face transmission of information about the concept of public safety and its main provisions to relatives, acquaintances, and close ones in other cities and villages, so that it spreads by itself. We actually live in an occupied country. This needs to be understood. However, the occupation is not so obvious. That is, there are no foreign soldiers or patrols, but in fact, this is fierce informational yoke. And it is very difficult to break into central television. That is, it is practically very hard for a lot of money. And how do you guess when they ask your party, who perhaps sponsors you, Well, everything I have told you, can you now assume that the oligarchs will be our helpers? Soros and others like him, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and so on. No. So who do we rely on? On ordinary people. Right now, all of this is being done. But people also need to understand, because now these parties, when you go out, they say, "Oh, go away with your parties." Therefore, the mechanism of auto-synchronization, face-to-face distribution, everything, tapes, newspapers, everything, distribute books. And this time frame depends on how quickly we will solve these tasks. Therefore, we say that the measure of the bloodiness of the upcoming events is already underway. Blood, as it is already being shed. Look, what is happening in the country? Horror, bandit lawlessness, national conflicts. Is it a nightmare? The measure of bloodiness will be determined by the degree of understanding of the basic provisions of the public safety concept by all people. What does the interception of control consist of? We have already considered the entry of control with you. Here is the object of control. Here is the subject of control. A car, a person, feedback. Well, is it clear? Understood. The area, well, specifically here is Novosibirsk and the administration of the city and region. Well, we can take, let's say, a republic. We can take all of Russia, and the administration, so to speak, the Kremlin, manages. What are we doing? We take, hover over this scheme, and exert informational influence on the subject of management. We say, do you understand where you are leading the country? We comment on government documents, criticize them, say what they should be, including the Duma, the object of management, the country. Here we tell people how it should be, what needs to be done, what is happening. And thus, all this influence is aimed not just at storytelling, but at setting the vector of goals. That is, we orient this entire system towards achieving a specific vector of goals. We tie the result back to ourselves, feedback, and according to the predictor-corrector scheme, we bring it to the desired mode. Remember, we discussed resolving conflict situations? That's the point. Moreover, how is this done? If there is detail. There is no need to wait for any instructions, historical events, or anything else. This needs to be done now and is already being done. Here is the scheme of our state. Here are the management subjects, the State Duma, the President of Russia, areas of activity, education, production, management objects, schools, factories, various firms, enterprises, down to individuals. And from this point of view, look, what did they do with us? How did global mafias seize control of Russia? Here, please, the global predictor, see how they slyly and insidiously influence them with information, their conceptual power, divide and rule through the impact of ideology, liberalism, nationalism, Marxism, and so on. By the method of cultural cooperation on 6 priority generalized means, he deceived Gorbachev and Raisa Maximovna, Yeltsin, and all these Supreme Party authorities. They fed people nonsense, saying how good it is in the West and how bad it is here. Promised to chew on rubber. And having set the vector of the goal, what is the result? They said publicly that we would live better, but implicitly meant that they would live better at our expense. And they achieved their goals. Gas, oil, timber, aluminum, gold flow to the West like a river. And now what are we saying? Guys, if you were able to do this, then why can't we do it? Here we are at the top, our conceptual power, connecting and thriving. So, what are we doing? We are influencing the president, government bodies, so to speak, and so on, all cities, villages, the authorities in cities and villages, and ordinary people. Information influence. And in this sense, I emphasize once again, there is nothing to be afraid of. So what does the interception consist of? Here we look. Here is a school, children in the school, or a teacher in the school, an ordinary history teacher, who prevents you from sharing this knowledge with school children, well, in one form or another. There are conclusions, even from the Ministry of Education, stating that as part of authors' courses, including elective classes, this can be done in universities. Who prevents studying in these parties? You're going to all parties, please. That is, there is no need to wait for any instructions. Anyone who wishes, who is a true patriot of our motherland, can already work on the interception. That is, well, let's say, will it be considered an interception if you pull some young man or woman out of this state of alcoholic stupor and so on, and sexual debauchery? And I will tell you, even one of our newspapers is about chastity and the sexual revolution. It changes the behavior of young men and women in one night, and I'm not saying this for effect. It is real. Why? Because there is such information. And when our girls read about what this promiscuous behavior leads to, what kind of monsters are born as children, this does not mean, of course, that it is 100%. But I will say the majority starts to think very seriously here in Teumen, where I am currently giving a lecture. Look at how great the young men are. Healthy, strong, leading a healthy lifestyle. Young people in their early 20s, they have already mastered everything. Knowledge and concepts of public safety spread this among other people. We'll give an example. Anatoly Georgievich Shipitsin, who heads the Chelyabinsk party organization, is a doctor of technical sciences, a professor, engaged in scientific activities, and the head of the Department of Control Systems. He reads all this to the students of the South Ural University. They are already taking exams with him, and no one, please, nothing. This is read in many universities across the country. I can list them. In Barnaul, it is taught in several universities. In Teumen, where I am currently giving lectures, Faina Nikolaevna Petrova, a police colonel, defended her doctoral dissertation on this knowledge for penitentiary systems. So, she developed a whole methodology, that is, how to implement all this. One can talk for a long time, but that's not the point. It's important to grasp the essence. So, what is the meaning of this scheme? There is no need to wait for anything. One can already work as a true patriot for the liberation of their country. The war is informational. But where are the wounds? There are no bullets or shrapnel on people's bodies. But where are the wounds? Brains are concussed, and dead water helps to heal. If with ordinary means of injury you need Vishnevsky's ointment, bandages, iodine, and so on, then how do you fix it in the head? A concussion with dead water. It is dead water, and it helps to heal the wound inside the head. Therefore, there is no need to wait, or to take something in hand, or to run somewhere, or to go and kill someone. The war is informational, so through informational influence, we need to impact and restore. By setting the vector of goals, the whole country will gradually be brought into a balancing mode, and the sooner this happens, the more we all act together. Otherwise, as they say, you guys go ahead and we'll see. Well, then we will do it, so don't worry. It will just take much more time. And if you definitely want it faster, then let's do it together. The goals of the conceptual party unity are outlined in the program. We have a global and strategic goal. It is the establishment of a world order based on the principles of the concept of public security for all humanity. So, we will replace their world order, dividing power, with our world order, uniting and thriving. It is the Russian strategic goal, to free Russia from the power of the satanic biblical concept, to change, possibly with less suffering for the people, the course of Russia's development from the Western model to its own model, to create a country based on its own design for life, and to build such a country, the USSR, a holy, united, just Russia, where everyone will live happily, with dignity and in abundance. The immediate goals are as follows: to create a social base, that is, people who know the basic principles of the concept of public security. These people should be among all layers of the population, in all regions of the country and even abroad. That is, people must know what is happening, consciously make decisions, and act based on the true state of affairs. The second task is to prepare management personnel at both regional and global levels of responsibility. Personnel decide everything, and our life depends precisely on how we are managed. Thirdly, to carry out a takeover of management. Do not confuse it in any case with a seizure of power, with all processes in Russia. Just talked about this. By the method of proactive embedding and launching of auto-synchronization to solve priority vital tasks. They are also formulated in our program. And to introduce the Society of the Peoples of Russia, the USSR, and the entire national economy complex into a mode of sustainable self-governance. These goals are addressed through tasks, very briefly from them. But the first, take responsibility upon oneself. After all, someone must take responsibility. Note that all parties evade this. They start verbal nonsense about we take it together with the people, but do not say we take responsibility for the future of the country. Second, provide people with knowledge. Ensure access to knowledge for all members of society. Education should, of course, be free. The understanding that people are accustomed to become human beings, that is, to form a humane structure of the psyche, be healthy. A person's health depends on the informational state of society. It is easier to prevent illness than to treat it. There should be wellness centers, hospitals. Resolve the national question. Foster friendship among peoples. Affirm morality. Establish justice. Transition from a state-controlled model to a self-governing model. Meet natural needs. Suppress unnatural ones. Eliminate usury. Provide interest-free loans. Replace the dollar with an energy ruble. Lower prices and raise wages. Fairly compensate people's labor. Establish accountability for managers regarding the quality of their work. Ensure everyone has jobs. There should be no unemployment. Eliminate the cause of crime. We are not talking about fighting crime, but about eliminating the cause of crime. A person is not born a criminal. Society in which they are raised makes them a criminal. And society is criminal. And this concept is satanic, criminal towards people. Ensure the safety of the country and every person in the country. You can simply learn more about the goals and tasks of our party in the program as they are addressed there. The organizational structure of our party is, in principle, nothing complicated. Here it is in front of you. I won't even explain it. It's obvious. That is the Congress, the highest body, the Central Council, the Presidium of the Central Council, the Central Executive Committee, the Central Auditing Commission, and regional organizations, which consist of local organizations and primary organizations. I wanted to say a few words about the fact that we are facing resistance. At first they did not understand what it was, but now, realizing what this concept is, you're already feeling opposition from certain forces. I think that you too, having listened to everything being said, should understand that such views cannot but... They must find opposition. Therefore, the methods of resistance are in this. The first method is to assume control over the organization by introducing outsiders as agents in a strategic manner, and then carefully solve your tasks. The second method is to lead the KPE away from the right path to a false one. This can be achieved through an embedded leader or by substituting the organization's goal. Thirdly, sow discord among the people within the organization. The fastest effect is achieved by organizing a conflict at the very top. Next, to overwhelm with distractions. Impose such a work order in organizations that they do not have time to do the main and essential work. This is served by attempts to impose on us the study of countless new teachings and solve specific issues. Next, distort the meaning of the theoretical basis and concepts. This involves substituting the terminological apparatus, changing its conceptual framework, and so on, to provoke rejection, create kaleidoscopes in people's minds, and induce aversion. Next, to obfuscate the meaning of the concept. This is applied when it is not possible to distort the meaning. It is achieved through chatter at round tables, debates, and similar events. To provoke rejection of the people's establishment or to intimidate people through participation in the party. This is achieved in the simplest case through lies, gossip, rumors, and so on. In more sophisticated methods, intimidation occurs through the complexity of the KOB and so on. And finally, if nothing works, to silence everything related to the concept. Therefore, this is also present. And we go through all these methods, as they say in life right now. In conclusion, what I want to say is where to start. He is sometimes asked, but how to start? Very simple. In our party program, there are these 5 things to do. That is for those who are intrigued and interested after familiarizing themselves with these lectures, video materials, and in general, we offer first 5 tasks, the most basic ones, to get involved in the work. This is to master informational weapons, to understand the main theoretical provisions of the concept by reading key works, watching videotapes, attending special courses, lectures, etc. The second task, and this is a specific task, is in particular to make an effort to accomplish this task, because everyone asks, what should be done? But what exactly should be done? And I tell you what needs to be done. Start leading a healthy lifestyle. Give up the consumption of alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, and harmful habits that undermine health and moral spirit. If you are a patriot of your homeland, start strengthening your spirit and body. Third task, spread information and the concept of society. Work within your family, among relatives, friends, colleagues, that is, write to other cities, to republics, wherever you know someone. In other words, launch the mechanism of self-synchronization through yourself. This is another task, and quite a significant one, because not many people know about us yet. We participated in the elections to the State Duma, but only about 1 million out of 144 million voted. That is, you see, only 1% in total, which is a little 710,000. Therefore, spread the word, explain to people what this is about. And this is not an easy task, I tell you. That is, people will ask questions, so don't wait until you learn everything yourself. That's not the way. Once you understand the essence, share it with joy, share it with others. The fourth task, join the party, write an application, come to the headquarters, register, because I would even say this to many people. Yes, so what? But how? How to participate in public life? After all, they all have parties. Well, you see, who do they have? And ours seem to be, yes, well, I'm out of politics. Well, we've already talked about this. So make a decision, but how is that? You need to realize your ideas, but with what help? How to promote your people into power structures when all elections involve participation in electoral campaigns. Therefore, you need to advance your people into local authorities, into legislative assemblies. But with what help? When only parties can do this. Well, and the fifth thing, help in creating informational shells. Our main weapon and information are books, cassettes, video cassettes. But where does the money come from? Where do they say abstract parties? And who? You see, Abramoviches and Khodorkovskys are not our helpers. Who are the helpers? Therefore, at the very least, Pozharsky for the great cause, the great help of the entire people in creating these books, newspapers, cassettes. So you need to call by phone. How is that? Here are the trips. Therefore, everyone needs to rise together. From the world, a thread, to the naked, a shirt. Here are 5 specific tasks that anyone can start after getting acquainted, and help in ownership. I am simply showing you illustrations. Here is the concept of public safety, dead water. There is a whole library of conceptual knowledge. In this series, more than 50 works have already been published. Here are the main details. For example, in philosophy, dialectics and atheism are 2 incompatible essences. Here is a work on history, dehermetization. Here, Trotskyism is described, Leninism takes power, and how the revolutionary events occurred in our country. Here are questions about the hierarchy of the Russian Orthodox Church, everything related to theology. Here are questions about psychology, about human formation towards humanity. Here is about language, our language. Here is a sufficiently general theory of management. Here is the Master and Margarita related to gendemonism, or the gospel of unconditional faith. All these works will help you in mastering this knowledge. We have all of this in our headquarters. So in conclusion, what do I want to say? Yes, indeed, the country is in a difficult situation. Yes, it is very hard. Yes, people live not easily. But we live with you in an amazing time, despite all the abomination of this situation. We live in such a new informational state where previous concepts are collapsing. And Russia, our people, have a concept for leading the country, not only the country, but all of humanity, onto a new course of development. There is complete clarity on what needs to be done and how to do it. And all possibilities are open for consideration. Therefore, it was difficult when it was unknown what to do. Now there is complete clarity. Despite everything, we will make sure that people live happily, with dignity, and in abundance. But we will do it all together in unity. So join us. Together we are strong.